Hello there gorgeous gamers and welcome back to Pure Play TV, and we've got a review for Jay and Silent Bob More Brawl Arcade Edition, which is fresh out of the gate. But is it any good? No, it's fucking awful, and I hated almost every second that I spent playing the game. Let's have a look, shall we? I've been a fan of Kevin Smith's movies since I first stumbled on a videotape of Clerks when I was just 11 years old. I'm sad to say then that Jay and Silent Bob More Brawl Arcade Edition is an awful blemish on the largely brilliant View Askew-niverse. And yes, it's worse than the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and there's not enough weed, beers, whiz or coke to make it any better. There is a belief among some developers that by making a game in the style of brawlers from 30 years ago and calling them throwbacks to classic games, they can get away with making an inferior product. I'm sorry, but I'm just not buying it. If you're going to make an out-of-date game, dismissing everything that games have grown into, it had better be absolutely fucking stellar. I'm also a fan of looking back to the past, and whenever the lads and me get together, I'm always the first to recount the glory days by retelling the tales that we as a group have heard 1,000 times. Now that we're all in our 30s, those tales have lost some of the magic. The familiar punchlines that I've spent a decade crafting don't get the same hearty laughs as they once did. Just chuckles and a half-hearted, yeah, those were the days. The same is true for games of the NES era, and by that measure, games that emulate that period in gaming history. They just don't have anything left in the tank. That tap has run dry. And you know what? I'm going to come straight out and say it because it's something I've thought a lot while wondering why I continue to pay for Nintendo's online service. And it's not for the free games, because games from that era belong in the past. And there's a reason why most games are not made in that style anymore. Also, Nintendo, get your fucking act together. Nintendo Online is shit. Give us some games from this fucking century. Anyway, Jay and Silent Bob Hetero Life Mates are on a new adventure, but it's one that I do not recommend. It's an NES game in every sense, from the old school sprites to the beepity boppity soundtrack, and of course, the super simple and super annoying gameplay, which relies on enemies being absolute dicks to extend the runtime. It is seriously unfun, and after a couple of hours of trying and failing to enjoy the game, I gave it up as a bad job. I only got as far as the 3rd stage, but honestly, I was ready to call it quits on stage 2. The shopping trolley segment on stage 3 is what truly got me, and after the 10th attempt, I said f*** it and deleted the game. If Jay and Silent Bob die, it's game over and you start the level from the beginning, meaning tediously smashing your way through fodder enemies as well as dickheads on skateboards. These enemies serve no purpose other than to annoy the player. They'll chip away at your health until you're forced back to the beginning of the stage. No thank you. We've come beyond the days of robbing kids of their pennies by programming shit tactics into games. These days, we have loot boxes. Jay and Silent Bob More Brawl could have been called anything, it's that generic. Its relevance to the titular characters is minimal. Throwing a few cheap references into the background does not do the source material justice. And honestly, anybody who looks at this and goes, oh yeah, it's amazing, games from that day were the best thing ever, you're either a pretentious prick, or you've never had a PlayStation. This game was made for one reason only. Well, 2 reasons. It was cheap to make. I've seen homebrew games that look and play better than this, and it's to make money for the proper game that is coming in the future. I wanted to like Jay and Silent Bob More Brawl, I really did. I'm a massive fan of the movies, but this will go down as a dark mark on the View Askew-niverse. It's poor, really poor, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. This is a prequel to a proper game that will release sometime in the future, and it does at least look a bit more promising than this. Even then, if the game isn't as good as it should be, it will still be better than this, because nobody makes a mistake this big twice. That's why I don't have a brother. Self-burn. And that's the end of this review. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do us a favour, go on down below, hit the like and subscribe buttons, give the bell icon a nudge so that you're notified whenever we've got new stuff. Go to the description box and you'll find our website links, social media channels and our supporters page, where you can support the team if you can. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, bye bye.